twice he fell from the roof. The first time it was inside. He was doing the ceilings of the main room upstairs, and the ceiling, the inner ceiling, was taken down, and he was up on the roof. And I came up the fire escape, and there was a teddy boy, as we called them in those days, leaning, smoking a cigarette on the side of the door. And he said to me, I said, "Is Bill there?" "Yes," he says, "he's sitting in here." So I went up. As I got to the door, he said to me in his own way, which was a sort of Cockney way, he said, he said, "Do you believe in miracles?" So I said, "Well, as it so happens, yes, I do." He said, "I've just seen one." And then I heard Bill say from this, in the midst of all these chairs, "Yeah." So then I said, "What is it that you saw?" He said, "I came here and I called up onto the roof outside, 'Bill, are you there?' And Bill said, 'Yes, I am. Just wait a moment, I'll come down to you.' But he said Bill came down and his legs were trying to find the ladder. His feet were trying, but the ladder he'd pulled up onto the roof. He'd forgotten that. Too late, to let himself down, he let himself right the way down to try and find this ladder. He was sure it was there. He fell. And then this fellow said to me, "That's the miracle." He said, "All those chairs have were wheel-back chairs, and they weren't ours. We were storing them for someone else. And right in the middle of them was one chair that hadn't got one on top of it. And into that chair, Bill fell." And the fellow said to me, "He didn't come, he floated down," he said. "I watched him," he said. Twice he turned over and he landed in that chair. He's been sitting there ever since. And Bill then said, "Yeah, that's right. I came down like a feather." I always remember that. That was the very funny story. And he was as calm could be. But the other occasion was when we were in study in the morning, and we were just going to have a cup of tea. It must have been in the winter. Bill was up on the roof, on the chimneys. Now, these chimneys of Halford House, it's Queen Anne Manor House, they go right up, so it's the equivalent of 4 floors, at least 4 floors. And these chimneys were the height of a man. They were over 6 foot, just the chimneys. When you get up, they look small when you look up at them, and when you get up there, they're huge. So he was fiddling around. Well, we were having a cup of tea, and suddenly there was a terrific crunch, and everything in the house shook. I mean, all the walls, everything. And I said to Margaret, "What on earth is that?" So she said, "Oh, Bill's up on the chimneys next door. He's thrown down something." Well, I said, that was and as I said it, I heard a scream. And it was the ladies next door. She was a top nurse, Eunice, from New Zealand. And Blanche had said to her, "Go and look out the window or see what that was." And she looked out the window and saw Bill spread-eagled on the concrete. So she thought he was dead. So she had let out a great scream. So as those two came round one side of the house, we came down the other. We all came together just as Bill was getting up. So I was sure that Bill was dead and that this was spontaneous reaction of his nerves. He was going to get up and then he'd fall back dead, because he was really dead. But he wasn't dead. And he began to dust himself off. And I said, "Bill, are you all right?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "I haven't broken anything." And then he began to put his arms up and down, his legs. And so I said to him, the girls went off to get a cup of coffee. And I didn't know this till the 50th. They never dared tell me. These two ladies, Eunice said to Blanche, "He needs some brandy in the tea." But Blanche says, "I haven't got any brandy." So she said, but she said, Ivan, her husband, "I have got some very special whiskey that we're not allowed to touch." "Well, I could use it," she said. So she went off to get his whiskey and bought it. Well, whilst we were there, Bill was dusting me out, and I was sure that he must have aches and pains. He was adamant that he would go on working. So then they came with the tea, and he took this cup up in his hand. I remember it very well, because he said, "Oh, that was lovely. I'll have another one." And of course, off they went. I had no idea that there was whiskey in it, you see. And so he had 3 cups of this tea with whiskey in it. Yeah, he fell off. I went straight back to work. The only time I've seen Bill shocked was when he lived in Blackdown beyond Godalming in Surrey, and he used to race up well over 100 miles an hour on the road. And as he came to the parking place outside Halford House, the steering wheel came off in his hand. And that was the only time I've ever seen him really shaking. He was white as a sheet. He came in holding the steering wheel in his hands. And he said, "I'll have to have a cup of tea before I work." So we were making him a cup of tea. But I mean, that's the only time I've ever seen him really shaking. If it had happened whilst he was racing up from Blackdown, it would have not only been his death, but somebody else, other people's death as well.